you have recently talked about the fact that you couldn't order the pay-per-view. And we had to talk about the fact that pay-per-view is a dying thing. In demand is done. UFC just announced their new deal with Paramount Plus. Or I should say just Paramount, because they're going to be simulcasting things or airing things directly on CBS, the Tiffany network. But they announced this major deal, and we could talk about some of the specifics and how we could discuss monopolies too. We could discuss a lot of things. But what do you think about the fact that they are very publicly coming out and saying the pay-per-view model is dead? We're getting away from the pay-per-view model. There's nothing there. I mean, I saw some quotas like, there's nothing there except movies and boxing. And I don't even hear about boxing anymore.
Well, and that's most of the people that are boxing these days are doing it at Costco. Here's the thing with it, and a lot of people, there's going to be, by the way, Brian, I'm pretty sure some type of chatter or rumors or just people not knowing what the fuck's going on over the next few days, at least on some kind of social media. Maybe it might not be widespread, but in my little town here, in my little town, it was on the news today, the local news, but while they were talking about Paramount having the streaming rights for UFC to, as you just said, go to their fucking thing that they do, the graphic on the screen at the bottom just said, Paramount buys UFC. Because I was on the phone, right? And I had the TV on, but it was muted. I'm on the phone and I look up and I see that graphic and I wait, what? And I pause it when I get off the phone. I go back and they're talking about streaming rights. And it wasn't even my afternoon man, Gilbert Corsi, that, did OVW and understands the world of this. It's the noon people, and they're reading the copy that, the story, but they didn't really specifically. They said, oh, yes, Paramount has bought the rights to televise these events, but they didn't. There was a lot of ambiguity as to who bought what and whether they just sold the UFC. So I bet you we're going to hear some, if it was like that in other local news areas or whatever, we might hear some rumors. Hey, I don't know what these fucking services all are or what I need to do, how I must qualify, what paperwork I need to fill out. Do I need to show proof of citizenship? And then do they have to come to my house with an organ grinder and a monkey and play the saber dance while I jump through hoops? Hoops, Brian, I say hoops. To see these things.
Well, for UFC fans, this is a big savings. Previously, they were with ESPN, where to get the pay-per-views, I believe you had to subscribe to and pay for ESPN's app and then pay an additional, $69 per pay-per-view event to stream it through the app.
Well,
now,
but
Paramount Plus is like $11, $12, somewhere in that range. So it's a great savings, and a lot of these fights will be on CBS. The question is, will it expose that maybe there isn't as big an audience for UFC as has been touted? Or will it go the other way? And will it show a big audience and lead to a big new exposure on that growing format television?
But I understand.
$1.1 billion average annual value per year for 7 years.
That's just insane. But I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. But in the first place, again, a lot of people, whether it'll save them money or not, if they were the most dedicated, like the wrestling fans that are the most dedicated, they're figuring out ways to get the wrestling, right? I would assume it's the same thing with the UFC people. They're most dedicated. They've already got this shit. Now they need to get some other shit. They need to drop that shit they got, and they need to get this other shit. But in the case of the wrestling, as we'll be talking about, or we're going to talk about it here in a minute, that the shit they need to get ain't even there yet. And how are you going to get the shit? Who going to be bringing the shit to you? Who will be shipping the shit to you, Brian? And who will be receiving the shit? This is all questions that still need to be asked and answered about this whole fucking rigmarole.
Yeah, that wasn't really a question or anything I could easily jump in and follow up with. But Jim, we will continue discussing this.
It was a statement of my goddamn position on the matter.
So let's look at the big picture here. And last week, as we were doing a classically themed show, we did have one story that we addressed, which was the WWE ESPN announcement. And I guess it's still being ironed out which cable services will offer free access to subscribers through cable. That's something we've seen in the past. I get Peacock for free through my Xfinity Comcast cable. But again, if people aren't paying for cable, if kids aren't paying for cable, it really doesn't affect them. It affects just us fuddy-duddies with cable. But they've got that deal. Brandon Thurston posted something. Between UFC and WWE, again, same parent company, TKO.
Yeah.
They will have media deals in 2026 with Netflix for Raw and international WWE, with Disney, which is ESPN, for WWE premium live events, with NBC Universal for SmackDown, with Nexstar for the NXT with CW, Paramount, the UFC. It says here a smaller deal with Fox, which is Evolve on Tubi.
Or not to be.
And it says here
determined.
WBD is the only major I could think of without. And of course, they have AEW, but I could tell you another one out there, and there's a couple rumors going around about this, especially with the talk about what's going to happen to the WWE catalog. YouTube. Don't be surprised if YouTube jumps into the fray here, because WWE started these vault channels for a reason, and they've seen the potential revenue. So don't be surprised if there's another deal there, but
well, that's going to be the only place for us old folks with the old crotchetiness to be able to see the classic library. But with that classic library, they could put shit out there forever.
The idea, though, that this company, WWE's parent company, I shouldn't say owns, that they have all these deals in place with all the major players.
I just, by the way, when you read those off, I counted 5 confirmed and 1 that you speculated on, which, as you said, runs the gamut of every major goddamn outfit except for poor old Tony Khan's friends.
So whether you're Tony Khan or anyone else, let's say there's a different billionaire right now who ran a company and it's not AEW. You know what I mean? It could be anyone. And let's say that's a really great wrestling company and everyone likes it. It's the same situation. There's a shutout taking place where if Tony lost WBD, he would have nowhere to go. Not to say he couldn't, again, with his money, he could do whatever he wants. He can create a platform. He could buy a platform. But in terms of what's there now, WWE and their parent company are locking down every single major media player. It's going to be like venues. You think any of them are going to want deals with AEW? They probably can't have one contractually. You can't set up in this venue until 24 hours after we leave, or whatever it is. But what do you think of the idea? Again, it could be Tony Khan, and it is. But no matter who is a number 2 right now, the next number 2 in the States is TNA, and they're under the WWE umbrella. They're all but sold to WWE.
They're like the Beatles on the top 40 chart in '64. What the fuck?
And that's the next television deal. And they got AAA, and they'll get a television deal in the States for AAA. What do you do? Like, how does a number 2? This is so much different than it was under Vince, who did everything he could to crush any competition. This is some of it deliberate to hurt AEW, but they're not signing these deals to hurt AEW. They're just trying to get as much as they can out of this before they try to sell it eventually. But they're creating a situation where no one else...
You're asking 18 questions with commas at the end.
I'm sorry. There's a lot here to think about.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing is that Vince tried to destroy competition and didn't want to work with anybody else. And usually if he did work with somebody else, it was either that with me in Knoxville, I was no threat and didn't want to be, or with everybody else that kind of went, and Lawler in Memphis. But, he couldn't work with AAA, but it didn't matter. He was doing his thing. But now that they want to control the literal fucking world, and they have those Beatles spots in the top 5 where, okay, we got the SmackDown, we got the Raw, we got Saturday Night's Main Event, we got NXT, we got, and TNA under their umbrella, and AAA coming in. You said Tony Khan could buy his own outlet. Actually, that's not even true anymore. Because now for any, poor old Shad's only worth $12 billion. And for any type of media outlet, these days, it's more than that to just buy the fucking thing. They can't. This is a vast WWE conspiracy to, basically shut it. They're not even trying to shut a lot of people out because there's not a lot of people that are even going to get close enough to the door for you to slam it in their face. But they want a presence with every media and every media outlet so that they can milk as much money out of each one of them as possible.
So they can get as much as they can when they go private and sell to the Saudis.
And I'm not saying that any of that thing, ain't going to happen either, but I'm just saying right now, it's, yes, they can choke off Tony, but there's not even anybody else that can even play this fucking game anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you started up a wrestling company tomorrow and you had funding and you had talent and you were ready to go, what are you going to do? I mean, anyone can right now go on YouTube, and I don't know if a WWE deal with YouTube would prohibit anyone else. I probably wouldn't. Everyone could upload their own stuff. But at this point, social media and YouTube may be the best way to, I mean, Amazon's still out there and stuff, but again, it's a shrinking marketplace, and some of it's intentional because you're preventing any competition from ever being able to exist.
But
if you have every streaming platform locked down in an exclusive deal, how can anyone else exist?
And I mean, to a lesser extent, maybe the mixed martial arts world and boxing, we don't know that we're not experts. Who knows, who has the power these days? But they do have somewhat of a conglomerate monopoly on any kind of combat sport. And here's the thing. If there is a well-off fan of wrestling who also was a multimillionaire, and he said, you know what, for the love of the game, I'll put something together, and on a regional basis, I say that you could probably, if you put significant time, money, and effort in it, had a location that you could afford and the conditions were right, had access to fucking local sponsorships and people that would get other media that would get involved, you could do independent shows in a regional area like the Southeast or the Carolinas on maybe, I don't know whether it'd be every couple of months basis, you do 2 or 3 shows in a row where you're bringing in talent, figure out some kind of TV thing. And if a guy was willing to just say, fuck it, we're going to do this and hopefully find the people to do it well, and just say, I don't care whether I make money or not. After a couple of years, if you did it well and you had still local television for something like this, you could probably do some big independent shows and you would do okay. But I don't know if you'd live long enough to make all your startup money back. But I mean, otherwise, you ain't going to be in the big time wrestling business, boy.
So you know how I think, because I've been saying it. Again, irrespective of the content of AEW, I think Tony needs to fight back, and he needs to fight back harder, and he needs to have a team of people ready to fight back because they're fucking with him every way they can. And even when it's just like an inconvenience, they fuck with him. Just like there's no excuse sometimes. They've announced they're running a pay-per-view against All Out. Directly against them because, why not? But Tony has to do something too. It can't just be giving cute quotes to the wrestling press. I think there should be a fucking campaign, and it should be like, WWE makes all this money. How come they don't pay their wrestlers as much as we do? Like, just make it every discussion they don't want to have publicly, and just bring it to them with that. That's all you could do right now, because all they care about is that stock price. That's the only thing they care about.
Yeah, but here's the thing. For the people that they would be speaking to or that would listen to them, they already know these things, and it hadn't really been a goddamn issue so far. And so
I'm not saying advertise it to the wrestling fans. I'm saying forget about the wrestling fans. Bring it to the Wall Street Journal. Take out a full-page ad. Yeah, bring it to the business community. That's what hurts them. It doesn't. How you trash WWE may hurt WWE to your own existing fans, but it's not going to do anything to grow AEW or not going to do anything to really hurt their company. If you bring it to the business community, then you have a shot.
Okay, but then tell me why that the Wall Street Journal or the business community or these people care when either here comes this Rick Moranis looking motherfucker in.
Fuck it, full page ad. Do what Vince used to do.
Nobody reads the ads.
I'm would get attention.
Listen to me is what I'm saying. Consider the source. You've got the WWE, the worldwide leader in sports entertainment, with all the fucking billions of dollars on the stock exchange and the goddamn superstars. They're everywhere. This goddamn they're the big deal here. They're the goddamn, people are in the goddamn administration. These people, they're all over the place. They're filthy with them. And here comes Tony Khan as he talks for Tom Burke, and maybe one other person out there. He reminds me of Kenny Levitt in his younger days. He's got a lot of energy.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous.
Or the WWE could say in response to anything that AEW could say, well, look at this. Here's a montage of their programming, and there's the blood drinking and the
good
head slicing and the fucking nonsense.
Want that. Hey, listen, they're not embarrassed by it. If WWE brought that to anyone else's attention, they're still not going to be embarrassed by it. That'd be a favor.
I'm just saying that, to me, if you said, look, here is who is knocking us, and they saw that, they'd say, fuck, we don't want to get involved with these people.
I think if you had a serious campaign, Tony Khan shouldn't talk, doesn't have to talk. A serious campaign against WWE for good reason, for everything they're doing to fuck with you. It could really hurt them in the long run if done right. And again, I don't think Tony Khan should be sitting there.
Well, if done right, yes, and the eggs at Denny's would work also if done right. I just don't think they could do it right. I don't think anybody will listen to them in the face of this financial juggernaut. And, they can be discredited by look at the way that a lot of the shit that they come off or that they do. And you're trying to criticize us, and they can't hit them with the monopoly or the antitrust or whatever because they're on TBS and TNT and the WBD and the VD and what other things they're on, STD.
Hey, as of now, from what we understand, Tony Khan has not shopped Ring of Honor or any other AEW programming he could create. To the point where we heard that CW was interested, and he wasn't interested in even talking to them. And then they gave NXT a bunch of money that Tony could have used. But if Tony goes and he starts trying to shop these shows, if he gets to the point where he's not just going to give WBD everything, which may be tough if they own a piece. But if you're going to try to shop any of those shows and you can't get any conversation started because of that, that's where you could start the monopoly talk.
I don't know. I'm glad he's not my defense attorney, Tony Khan.
What do you think this says, going back to the TKO thing, ending with this? What do you think this says about the future of TKO, WWE, and UFC? The deals they've all just announced in the last week and a half? The commercialization of everything on these shows? What do you think the next 5 years is going to be like? Do you think it's going to become more fan-friendly? Do you think it's going to become more just a complete money grab? What do you see this as?
Well, fan friendly. I'm sure they'll be as friendly to the fucking fans as they can possibly be, Brian. They're going to be patting them on the back and rubbing their tummy and reaching in their pocket. And they can come here, friend. Let me tell you all about it. They're going to be friendly to those people. They're going to introduce them to new, different shows and that they can watch and merchandise they can buy. And they're going to give them happy lives with all this. Of course, they're going to be friendly. And yes, that's the thing is that we've seen now there's goddamn Slim Jim logos on the tables that are under the ring for no reason that they pull out to violently throw each other through, and we're supposed to be worried about when it makes the whole sight comedic when a guy's being thrown through a Slim Jim table. They'll logo anything. They'll sell to the Saudis. They'll do whatever they need to. Well, I mean, don't mean sell the company, but they'll sell shows to the Saudis.
Eventually they will.
Hold on. They'll sell shows to the Saudis. They'll sell secrets to the enemy. I don't know. They'll sell anything they can sell. And the same thing with UFC and the same thing with the bull riding people. If whatever they can fucking sell, they're going to sell until it's either not just a license to print money anymore, or as you said, the Saudis or some other goddamn, who knows, somebody will strike oil in Switzerland and it'll be an evil Swiss billionaire. But yeah, they'll sell it unless they're making so much money off of it, they can't fucking afford to sell it. Not that kind of
Vince Von Trapp. Sell it to me.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
You want to play chicken?
he only plays chicken with a real chicken.
Yeah, he only plays chicken on the Merritt Parkway.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Cable News.